Good afternoon. My name is Sheila Lamb, and I'm with the Virginia SBDC Network. For those of you that are not familiar with our organization, the Virginia Small Business Development Center is a partnership program between the U.S. Small Business Administration, George Mason University, and local host institutions throughout Virginia. With 26 locations across the Commonwealth, we provide training and technical assistance to small businesses in their local communities. Our one-on-one advising services are available at no charge. Today's webinar, Holiday Season Cyber Threats, is presented by the Virginia SBDC Network. We hope you can join us for our next cybersecurity webinar. Let's talk about cyber risk management for 2024 on December 14th. We are recording today's presentation and it will be posted on our website, virginiasbdc.org. Due to the large number of participants, everyone's microphone is muted and the chat feature is turned off. But if you have questions during the presentation, you can type those into the Q&A box and we will address them at the end of the session. We have also enabled the live transcript function, which you can show or hide via your own meeting controls. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our presenter for today's session, Kiana Gainey. Kiana is a 20-plus year IT and cybersecurity industry veteran and has served as Chief Executive Officer for SecureTech 360, located in Springfield, Virginia, since its inception in 2010. She is also the Cyber Industry Specialist for the Virginia SBDC. Welcome, Kiana.
Thank you, Sheila, and welcome to everyone. We'll dive right in. We're going to talk about the wonderful world of holiday and cybersecurity for your small business and for yourself. Next slide. So she brought me right in for my wonderful introduction, a little bit about myself, been in the industry for about 20 years. What I'm really excited about is to be here with you and to also help you as you're navigating this wonderful world of cybersecurity. Next slide. So yeah, so like I said, I'm so excited about my new role here. So we're gonna dive right in today. Next slide. So my purpose of this webinar is going to be able to leave you with some examples, some methods, how to look at securing your devices, shopping on, reputable sources, employing secure transaction methods for purchases, and also just some things that you can do, some housekeeping things that you can do to make sure that your organization is safe and then you're safe, your loved ones are safe during this holiday season. Unfortunately, with all of the holiday cheer, this is one of the busiest times of the year, as you can imagine. Cyber criminals are looking for ways to be able to hack you during the holidays, to steal information, to do the things that they do. But we're going to make sure that you're safe and that you have the right information and tools and techniques to be able to protect yourself and your organizations. Next slide. So the first thing, regardless of what device you're using, it could be a cell phone, it could be a tablet, it could be your computer, make sure during this holiday season, as you're doing things like online shopping, as you're looking for, I know we just left out of Black Friday, then we went right into Cyber Monday, and then even today is Giving Tuesday. So there's so many opportunities for us to be, doing things online. So making sure that you are staying safe should be your number one priority as well. So when and can you can make sure that you're updating your software regularly, regardless of, like I talked about, regardless of if you're using a phone, a computer, a tablet, electronics, and even some of your things like the children's toys or even some of the gaming devices that we give our children, make sure that they have the latest software that's available. As you can imagine, there are threats that are coming out every day. And especially when you think about the numbers for Cyber Monday, they were estimated is in the billions. So you think about all of the different ads that you're going to be receiving in your emails. A lot of people are going to be promoting on social media. So although we love to use, I know I use TikTok and other social media platforms to think about things that I want to purchase, we still want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence. So if it's a new product or a new service that's being provided by someone that you don't know, treat them just like you would treat any stranger, right? Do your research. Make sure that they are registered with the Better Business Bureau. If they're going to take you to a site, make sure the site has HTTPS. Make sure that it's a secure site. If you can, don't use gift cards if they're trying to get you to purchase gift cards. The gift card fraud is at an all-time high. Even if you're purchasing gift cards, make sure that the back of the gift card has not been manipulated in any form, because they've been getting very crafty this season about even taking gift cards and scraping off the bottom, getting the numbers, putting the gray foil back and putting it back in place, right? So even those type of things, just keep in mind that they're getting very crafty with ways to try to get information from you and also to hack you this holiday season. Also, use secure password practices. So if you're purchasing something, immediately change, if you purchase something, a new device. So we're buying all these new great devices, it's Cyber Monday, it's Black Friday, and we bought all this new stuff. Change it if it has a default password. Use a unique complex password for each device. And if you can, consider a password manager. If you are using a password manager, make sure you do your due diligence with that as well. Do your research to make sure that they're being secure as well. Also, if there's privacy and security settings, regularly review those, adjust those privacy and security settings on all your devices, can control how your information is being used, how it's being stored, and then also, this is my number one tip, do not overshare personal data, right? I know during the holidays, we want to show all the wonderful things that we're into. We're trying to sign up for all new things. You know, we're getting ready for the new year, new me. So there's all these different type of portals and information that's being thrown at you. So make sure that you're not oversharing a lot of personal data that can be used in other sources. And then also enable automatic updates. Activate any automatic software updates when available to keep your devices running, and make sure that the latest software versions, make sure that the ongoing support from the manufacturers, because they're also getting things like firmware and different software updates. So making sure that I know I'm guilty of it at times when you see the notification to tell you to update, make sure you're updating to the latest security patches. These are all great resources that you can do to make sure that you're keeping yourself safe during this holiday season. In addition to that, if you are an employer, this may be a great time to have that holiday talk during your staff meetings to make sure that your employees are also doing these things on their devices, making sure that any of the portals that you're using, any of the equipment that you're using, if there's an opportunity to make sure that you're doing your automatic updates, making sure that you're updating your software regularly. And if it's that time of the year and you're feeling like that password is being overused, maybe it's time to change it as well. A good rule of thumb is to change it at least every 90 days. If you can use eight characters, at least make sure that you have some type of special character. And I always say, try not to use things that you can easily guess, like things that can be found in a dictionary. Make it something that maybe only you know that's unique to you, that someone won't be able to easily guess. Next slide. So as we're navigating the online marketplace, right, consider whether you're doing your searches from home or you're using a public Wi-Fi. Make sure you are understanding that accessing things through your emails, they need to come from people that you know and trust, right? There's a lot of different ways that they're getting very crafty with using different type of phishing techniques to be able to get you to click on different links and take you to sites that look very familiar to sites that you're used to. Those are called tiny URLs. So make sure that you are going to the actual address bar on the site and make sure that there's HTTPS and that is the actual site that you're at before you start putting in credit card information, before you start placing any personal information. Just be very cautious when you're visiting these websites. It's no different than if you go into a physical store, right, that didn't have things like signage, or there's things that looked a little different. The outside says that this is a place that they're doing printing, and when you go in, there's something different. It's the same type of concept when you are navigating online as well. Verify the vendor reputation. So if it's not a vendor that you're used to or that you don't know, read the comments, read the reviews. And also, if there is a new business, look up things like the Better Business Bureau. They're here to help. They have a plethora of information on their website as well that can also help you navigate this wonderful time of the year. Beware of any malicious website. Be cautious of websites that look legitimate but are actually very malicious. They always confirm their legitimacy before you click. before you share your information, before you use your credit card. Another rule of thumb, if you have a credit card, there's more protections on credit cards than are debit cards. So if you can, use your credit card versus using your debit card. Avoid using unsecured public Wi-Fi. I know that's hard. Sometimes we're just popping into a Starbucks or we're popping in different places. We're at the airports and we want to be able to check our email. But if you have to use public Wi-Fi, if at all costs, make sure that you're not doing things like banking or shopping or things that you're using sensitive information, because this gives hackers opportunities to be able to get information to you while you are on an unsecure public Wi-Fi. They're very easily to tap into, and they use these opportunities to be able to do one or two things, which is to hack your information or to produce malware so they can come back later on and hack your information. Also, be wary of those phishing emails. During the holidays, there's all these different 90% off retail offers. And if it's the one rule of thumb, if you know that, let's say, for instance, it is Cyber Monday, it's Black Friday, right? There will be reasonable sales. It won't be something like all of a sudden you can purchase Gucci for $10. And the common sense will tell you that Gucci is not selling anything for $10, even if it's Black Friday or Cyber Monday. So make sure that when you're seeing retailers offer these, ridiculous amounts, do your research, we talked about again. They also may contain harmful links or also be trying to request personal information for you. If you see something like that, a rule of thumb, if it's not something that you haven't initiated or someone that has not been usually sending you emails, be wary of clicking on harmful links. Another wonderful thing that they're doing, another thing that they're doing this season is sending you text messages. So if they're sending you a text message, it could be something that maybe you purchase online and now they're sending you like a shipping notification and they want you to click now. Do not click it. If you have a question about something that you purchased, if the site doesn't have a way that you can contact someone by phone, or if there's another way that you can authenticate if this is a true email, do not click it. Do not click a text that will take you to they give you links to take you to different sites, or they're requesting additional information. Also, just year-round, use safe email practices. Avoid clicking links or download attachments. As you see, that is like a theme throughout this whole holiday season. Avoid, do not click, do not download attachments from unknown sources. Manually type in retail URLs instead of clicking email links. So for instance, if Best Buy is sending you this wonderful retail offer, versus you taking the link that's within your email, go to the actual URL, type the actual URL, and then see if it takes you to Best Buy versus you clicking, right? So that's giving you you're doing your due diligence to make sure that you're not clicking on links from unknown sources. And then also never respond to unsolicited emails requesting any passwords, personnel, or financial information, even if it's from maybe it could be your bank and your bank is sending you a text message. The bank will never ask you for your passwords. The bank will never ask you for personal or financial information. Again, I'm old school. If I get something that comes to me, I always double verify. It takes 2 to 3 minutes to be able to make sure that this is something that's valid versus a world of hurt during the holiday season. You don't want to be a victim of these heinous crimes, and sometimes they take months and sometimes even years. You don't want to be a victim of identity theft. You don't want your information being leaked and put into other on the dark web, and these people are reusing your information. So just do your due diligence. And then, of course, if there's a way that you can use some type of data encryption, and we talked about that, URLs that starting with HTTPS that has a padlock icon indicating that it's an SSL encryption. Those are sites that you want to use this holiday season and even outside of the holiday, right? Make sure that you're double verifying, because the holiday season, as you can see, it's $1 billion industry, and we're all trying to buy wonderful gifts for our loved ones, and we don't want the gift that will keep on taking, which is your personal information, which is hackers getting access to your sensitive or personal information. And that also goes even for your small business. Although these things can apply to your personal life, it also can apply to you as a small business owner. So you'll get all type of things that's coming through to your email, and even to your personal mail or even to your business mail. A lot of vendors are trying to get in front of you during this holiday season. So just do your due diligence as well. And then also protect yourselves and your customers and your stakeholders during this holiday season. Next slide. Best practices for online purchases. So here's a couple best practices, some takeaways that can help you when you're considering a purchase. It's important to think about your personal and financial details before you share. Before you give out your information, take a moment to review the website's privacy policy. Make sure that you understand how they will be handling your information and your data, how it will be kept, how it will be utilized, how it will be shared, and how it will be protected, right? Again, we talked about this earlier. Use credit cards over debit cards. Credit cards offer better legal protection against fraud. Debit cards directly access your bank funds, which can risk insufficient funds for other banks, for other bills. If the fraud occurs, which can also cause different costs for you that you don't want for this holiday season. And also, monitor statements for fraud. This holiday season, make sure that you're regularly checking all credit card statements for your personal and your business, banking statements for your personal and your business. Report any fraudulent charges to your bank or financial institutions immediately. When there is an issue that you see that is bigger than something that you can resolve with your local bank, make sure that you're reaching out to local law enforcement immediately. There are steps. I just had a loved one of mine that was a victim of identity theft. It was through a physical method. The actual mailbox, she lived in a housing community where your mailboxes are for all of the folks in the community. And someone got a hold to the postmaster's physical key and was able to take mail out of each of everyone's mailbox. And she had just put in a renewal for a ID card, and they were able to take her ID card and open up all these different accounts. So when she realized, after she got a few calls to kind of verify some strange behavior with her identity, she went immediately checked all of her credit card statements, her bank statements. She reported immediately to her bank and financial institution. She reached out to law enforcement, and she was able to get a handle on it very quickly. They were actually able, between the reporting that she did and most of the homeowners that also suffered during this heinous crime, because people were reporting it, they were able to catch the suspects before they were able to, hit another housing community. So reporting is just as important when you do find out that something strange is happening to you, because it could affect you and the community around you. Also, be cautious with emails. Avoid providing personal information in response to email requests. We talked about this earlier. Do not give out personal information to people that you don't trust. Think of it as that if someone came to your door, knocked on your door, and then started to ask you all different type of personal information, you would be like, stranger danger, this is crazy. That is the same way with email. That's the same way with people that's trying to text your phone. You don't know these people, right? So treat strangers just like they are strangers. Legitimate business typically don't ask for sensitive information via email. Correct. So most legitimate businesses will not ask you for sensitive information as well, because they don't want to be held liable for information that they do not have the necessary protection. So think about that as well. Report any suspicious email. There's a great website, CISA.com, that has a plethora of information that can help you with, how to report, when to report, how to even notice or locate phishing emails. There's wonderful trainings on there as well that you can also, again, you can talk to your loved ones or even your staff, or even just yourself. You said, I'm just a solo entrepreneur. This would be a great way for you to be able to learn ahead of time, before you start hiring more employees, how you can keep yourself safe as well. And again, act quickly if your information is stolen. Report it to the local police, report it to the Federal Trade Commission immediately. And then there's also a wonderful website about that's dedicated just to all things identity theft. It's HTTPS, and you notice it had the HTTPS, identitytheft.gov. It will help you with some of the reporting guidance as well. And again, also, if you find yourself that something is strange, change your password immediately after a breach. Use complex, unique password for each account, and then also make sure that that you are also, if there's something that's going to affect your organization, and maybe it's something that happened to you, but maybe it is happening throughout your organization, and that would be a great way and a necessary tool for some lessons learned that you can also be able to educate your employees or yourself moving forward on how to better handle it. If you don't have a way, if you don't have like an incident response plan on file or for your organization, this would be a great time to put together a security plan that also talks about special circumstances like the holidays, where fraud is, at an all-time high, and then also just some practices that you can use to get yourself all ready for 2024. Next slide. So in conclusion, I know I covered a mouthful, but I hope that this gave you some tools and some tips and just some friendly reminders about all the things that are going on in the world around us. Cybercrime is at an all-time high. And even as a small business owner, and even if you're a solo entrepreneur, understand that everyone is feeling the pain, from larger organizations to yourself. So it's not something that that is just unique to us, but it's also something that is unique to anyone that's doing business or anyone that's even doing any type of shopping online. So don't be stressed out about it. Even if you find yourself handling sensitive information or personal information, make sure that you also put together some type of best practices for yourself on how to handle that information. And if you need some additional assistance, there are some wonderful sites and some tools and some tips that we can leave you as well, that you can go out and get some additional information about. Again, make sure that you can do your due diligence, and your due diligence is making sure that you're trained, that you're vigilant, that you are checking your devices, that you're ensuring that all of your equipment devices have the latest security software, that you're using the most up-to-date web browsers, operating systems. All of these things are crucial to safeguarding your data. Also, take a proactive approach, right? Protect your devices from malware by using some malware protection, using virus scanners to make sure that you're keeping all of those things up to date. When you're shopping online, just make sure you use it as a cautionary approach. Use a cautionary approach. Make sure you're only using trusted sites. If there is something that is new, that you want to use that's different from your daily or someone that you haven't used in the past, just make sure you're doing your due diligence and making sure that there are a trusted retailer, that they have a level of security. I know there is a lot of noise out there on social media. Everyone is selling the greatest and latest gadget or wonderful thing out there. But make sure that as a consumer, that you are being protected, and that the product or service that they're trying to provide to you, either via a website, it has the proper security channels to make sure that you are safe when you are purchasing something online. So coupled with all of these safe methods for purchasing, we talked about using credit cards. If you can, also use additional layer of protection. Like for myself, I'll use PayPal, and there's many other payment services that you can use, so that I'm not using my credit card as much. It gives me another additional layer of protection. That's also a great best practice you can use as well. So just make sure that you're doing your due diligence. By integrating these practices in your online habits, it will also significantly reduce your potential risk to being hacked during the holidays, protecting yourselves, your loved ones, and even your small business, so that your digital transactions will be not only safe, but they will be secure, and it will also help protect your devices and also protect your organization. Any questions?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. So we have two questions.
Okay.
One of them was, what if you're working on your computers and you close the emails? However, when you come back into it, it says Outlook did not close last time. Do you want to save, yes or no? Is this a safe notice?
So depending on if it's like a regular error message that is coming up from Outlook, because even like your computers, if you shut it down incorrectly, then there's an error message that appears. So that could just be something that's legitimate. But if you notice that, let's say for instance, it's something that just pops out of nowhere, it looks strange, the window looks a little, you can always tell that sometimes there's usually like misspelled words, or it looks a little fuzzy, or it just pops out of nowhere, then I would not click on anything that looks, suspicious, one, or if it doesn't look like it's coming from a reputable site, right? And then also, if before you click, if you have another method of like another computer or another device that you can even go and check to see if that's a legitimate error message. I know that I always err on the caution of making sure you do your due diligence to make sure that maybe this is something that's a best practice, or is it something that has been reported, because you may go and find that that particular error message has been reported to Outlook, and it could be something that they're trying to, make sure that the community at large understands that this is something that's happening in the background. So a lot of times, unless we report it and we don't tell the particular organization what's going on, they'll think it's business as usual. So when in doubt, do your research. If it looks weird, if it looks shady, don't click on it.
Yeah, I'm like the overthinker, and I'm like, oh, that doesn't look right. That doesn't look right.
Right. And you should be. I mean, because you think about just this current landscape. I mean, there's, even for myself, I'll receive some emails and I'm like, that's crazy. I was just talking that I wanted to buy this new Tupperware set. And then all of a sudden I get this email about this Tupperware set, right? And it's on sale, and it's from Macy's. It's somewhere that I shop at. This is crazy. But then when I go look at the tiny URL, I'm seeing something that's like LBCDVL at UR, something completely that's not Macy's. So again, we have a lot of smart devices that are listening as well. We have a lot of wonderful social media, or even advertisers that want to know what you like, so they use different methods as well. However, just because the hackers know that these are methods that's being used as well, they also try to do things to mimic that, to kind of throw you off as the consumer. So I always say an educated consumer is the best consumer.
We have another question. Would you say that it is a good idea to keep all passwords on a flash drive?
So passwords on a flash drive, two things that stand out to me. A flash drive, unless it's encrypted, unless it's stored somewhere that no one else can get to. I have heard and I've seen people put certain things on their flash drives. An air of caution, because flash drives people can put in their pockets, or there's something that can be you can easily lose. If you're going to use that method, make sure it's password protected. Make sure when it's not in use, that it's also stored somewhere that only you can get to. And then you make sure it's encrypted. So my short answer would be, you can use all different type of methods. However, make sure that whatever method that you choose, that you understand the risks that are involved, because everything has risks, right? So I always say, just again, an informed user is the best user as well. So my short answer would be yes, you could. My long answer would be yeah, but, and then that would be all of my buts.
Okay, we had another question drop in. This is a big one. Which devices are listening on a regular basis? iPhone,
all of them.
laptop?
All of them. All of them.
Gosh.
All of them. Technology, although we have adopted it into our everyday lives, it's also gotten very sophisticated. And you're seeing the emergence of things like artificial intelligence, there are a lot of engines that want to feed these artificial intelligence so that they can have the intellect to understand you as a consumer, to understand your shopping habits, to understand what you like, what you dislike. So I always, for me, and maybe because I'm in cyber, when I'm having a conversation that I don't want anyone to hear, I turn off all devices. I don't even keep Alexa on when I'm working. I'll turn Alexa off. If my camera is not in use, anything that I'm not using is not in use, I turn off my Bluetooth, I turn off my camera features, I turn off a lot of different things, only because I understand that those are ways and methods that people can use to be able to gain information. But I am also I am a novice of technology. I am not here to be the spooky man when it comes to technology. I just said use it wisely and just make sure that, you know, even with social media, I'm a small business owner, and I have been told like, oh, your social media pages don't have a lot of information, and I always say that's for a reason, because hackers can also gain information and be able to use that to be able to do things like social engineering. MGM went down for weeks and cost them millions of dollars because of someone getting information off of a social media page, using that to be able to social engineer and call into a help desk and be able to gain access to their site. And can you imagine? We're a small business owner, and I understand you're like, we don't have the money for all this protection. MGM is like Fort Knox. So something that simple, because they probably spent a lot of money on, you know, $1 million infrastructure, firewalls, I mean, the latest, greatest encryption, everything you can think of. But something that simple was able to penetrate a big organization. So I always say to even my small business owners, don't feel bad. You know, we have limited resources, but we do have things that we can use that don't cost a lot of money. It doesn't cost to, you know, update your software, to use strong passwords, to make sure you're checking your bank statements, checking all of your devices, checking everything. When you're not using something, disable it or turn it off. Those are things that you can do. They don't cost you anything but a few seconds of your time.
Okay, are there any other questions while we have Kiana in front of us?
So I didn't want to spook you, but I hope that you are uninformed. I hope you feel empowered. I hope that you take the information that we discussed today and be able to apply it to your infrastructure, to apply to your organizations, or even in your personal life. And as you are doing your holiday shopping, if they see some things that are just too good to be true, I know my grandmother used to say, if it's too good to be true, that means that it's too good to be true. Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We did have another question drop in.
Okay.
So have you heard about recent multiple, I think temporary site shutdowns of mortgage companies like Mr. Cooper and banks?
So I've heard of a lot of different shutdowns from a lot of different industries, mostly dealing with things that are what I would consider infinite data, which is financial data or healthcare data. You're seeing an increase of cyber attacks on probably non-traditional places that you never thought that you'll see them before. And so I'm not surprised that this is happening, because again, their whole mission is to either do ransomware attacks, right? Or to be able to do, you know, to use malware to be able to penetrate the system. It could be that they're trying to access the mortgage companies to get to something else. So you'll be surprised what the intent is. So again, just make sure that as a consumer of these products and services, that you're reading the fine print, the privacy policies, the terms of use with your information. What happens if there is an incident? And how will they report it to you? Will they be able to give you things like credit reporting if something does happen, right? I know a few moons ago, there was a big Equifax disruption, and Equifax, it was only because of a laptop. So it doesn't be like these large, big, sophisticated, you know, moves from these hackers. I know they try to dramatize a lot of these stuff in these movies. It's sometimes it's the simplest things, right? So making sure that whoever you're doing business with, just like if I told you to read the terms of condition, read the privacy policies, the same thing about how they'll handle your information in the event of an emergency or in the event that the incident happens. Because, you know, we can't prevent everything from happening, but we also need to be quick on our recovery.
We have another question. How may we use generative AI in ways to help protect us from cyber attacks? or at least keep us informed of the latest status of cyber threats to our own environments?
So, I mean, I know for myself, I use Chat GPT a lot, just to, ask different questions or to give me like a guidance on like how to put together a security plan or how to, and a lot of things, they'll say, well, I'm not familiar with your organization, because they're not familiar with your specific organization, but they can give you a baseline of information that you can put together where you can customize it to make it work for your organization. So yes, you can use those type of tools to get some guidance, to be able to get like some templates or even some best practices. But I would also utilize some of the government sites. They've spent a lot of information on a lot of resources to be able to provide consumers with information about keeping themselves safe. Everything from incident response, and we talked about some of the sites, identitytheft.gov. CISA is a wonderful site as well. There's a plethora of DHS has some great information out there as well. So use those sites too to be able to put together a security plan that meets your security posture, because everyone has unique circumstances. So there's not a one size fit all for cybersecurity, but sometimes there's a baseline to at least get you started.
Follow up to that question was, are there ways to filter cyber threats from our individual devices?
So you can use some of the methods that we talked about earlier today. For my organization, because I know that this is a peak season, I turned on auditing logs so that I can check my logs every day to see if there's something different that's happening. So I can see like maybe in October, my productivity was probably at 20%, but now during this season, it went up to like 40%, like someone's trying to hit my infrastructure more. So that kind of gives me some information on what I need to do. And then there's things you can do, that updating your software, changing your password, strengthening your password. If you can use some encryption methods, that's great as well. There's things that you can do like that. Those are things that you can put in place just to give yourself some, to create a security posture that will at least help you be able to navigate some of these cyber threats, but also just keeping yourself educated, because there's new threats coming out every day almost. And then also putting together some type of incident response plan for yourself and your organization, and making sure that you use this time to even train yourself or your employees on what to do in the emergency, because we talked about MGM, who was like Fort Knox, they got hacked, right? But what saved them some time is I'm sure they had an incident response plan. I'm sure they had money for recovery. So these are things that we can do as well. Even if we're not as big, there's things that we can do just to make sure that our organization is safe as well.
So there's a question here. I'm going to address it, but if you even know more, Kiana, you can as well. Well, I'll start and let you follow up if you know something I don't know.
Okay.
So the question was, will the SBDC perform a webinar on the subject of AI? First, yes, we actually did one. It was either last month or the month before in our digital boot camp, and that was directed towards how to use it for marketing. But I want to say maybe we touched some on how to be careful with it, especially like in ways of keeping privacy. So you can always find that on our website, virginiasbdc.org /training, and look for recorded webinars. And then also a little birdie told me that I think we're going to be working on some coming up probably even next quarter, because it is such a big thing right now, especially as far as like the privacy part goes. So I do think there are some things in the works. I don't know exact dates, but yes, I do think there are some things in the works. And Kiana, if you know more than I do and want to share.
No, I think you hit it perfectly. But as the technology is growing again, there's some great resources and websites as well that you can do to just keep yourself abreast about the great parts of it. But then there's also some things like I never put anything personal to myself or to my organization within the tool. Use it like you almost use, like if you want information but you don't want to give out your information, because again, it's trying to build up this neural network. And so if you don't want something that can be used to the entire community that
Right.
uses the resource, think about it's just like you wouldn't post certain things about yourself just so that everyone can access. You want some things to be left private. It's the same thing with using the technology. So the advancement of the technology is there to be as a resource for you, but not something that will create an additional security threat or issue for you long term.
So do we have any other questions before we wrap up? And Kiana, if you want to kind of close us out, and then I'll follow you and
Yes.
the
So
day.
again, as we wrapped up, just keep these couple things. Tip number one: check your devices. Tip two: only shop through trusted sources. Tip three: use safe methods for purchases. If you can just keep those three things as you're shopping and navigating during this holiday season, I think you'll be fine. These deals, I know they have some deals that seem like they're too good to be true. They are. So stay away, beware from those. I always say my caution is if you haven't used something before, I wouldn't use the holiday season to try it out. Maybe wait and see if there is a new site with a new product and they don't have things like reviews up about them yet. I will wait. I wouldn't want to be the first reviewer. So just keep that in mind.
Very true. Okay, so I'll go ahead and wrap us up and we can continue on with our day. So I do want to thank everyone for attending. Kiana, thank you for another informative webinar. You will receive an email with a link to the recording and to the slides. If you would like to sign up for upcoming webinars or access the recorded webinars, as we were just talking about, please visit virginiasbdc.org/training. This webinar and other SBDC resources are designed to be used in collaboration with your local SBDC advisors. You can sign up for a free and confidential session by emailing help@virginiasbdc.org or via our website. We do hope to see you at our next session on December 14th. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Happy holidays.
Same to you.